Party leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, to give some remarks. She's the mother of the Human Rights Commission and a longtime champion of human rights.
Good morning. It is amazing to see this outpouring of community on a day that you could be doing almost anything. A fabulous day. A day that Ingram and Marion and all of their allies worked so hard to make happen. I remember when I saw you and you said, "Are you coming? Are you coming?" She was so concerned that after all the efforts and all the intensity, that people would not show up. And look what happened. We showed up and we're showing out. Because that's how Paul and Orial would have wanted it to be. There was nothing quiet about Paul Red. Paul would tell you anything just like you needed to hear it. Right, Paul? And Orial, she tell you too, but she try and soften it a little bit. You try and feel a little bit better. But, you know, I was listening to George and you know, it's always hard to follow him because he ties the occasion with whatever the circumstances at that moment. And when I was thinking about this train analogy, you know, I was thinking about people getting on this train with a purpose too. You know, some people just sightseeing. You know, some people just, you know, taking a ride because they can. Some people have to go somewhere, maybe to shop, you know. Some people get on the train because they have business to take care of. Paul and Orial had business to take care of. They may not have gotten on the train recognizing that they were going to do these things, but once they were confronted with the barriers because of the color of their skin in a place they loved and grew up in and contributed to, they decided that there was a purpose for them and they would not let it rest. I don't stand here on no one's shoulders because so many people allowed for me to be in the position that I am in, for which I am eternally grateful and happy to tell the history. And M. Paul Red and Orial was so much part of that. His fight for okay. Yay, train. To the train. No. I tell you, it's great because, you know, this is Paul. Paul is like, yeah. You all day, you got good thing you didn't do a quiet little cul-de-sac. But this makes complete sense. Because what he fought here, he was the one who urged Lois Bronze when she was in the county legislature to try and do a human rights commission. Why was he fighting this by himself? And when I got to the county and things continued to happen, you know, whether it was SWAT stickers in temples in Mamaroneck, or whether it was at that point Texaco and the black employees being called jelly beans, and Paul Red always in the ear saying, and what about housing, and what about what happened to us, and what about, and it worked out great, but what about? So it became a cause that had its moment. And of course, George was the chair of the board at that time, and I just asked the question, what about? And people poured in to tell us how long they'd waited for redress from discriminatory acts. And it was the instrument of not only Paul's advocacy, but the black press. Thank you, Sandra, for carrying county press to this day, because that message for why we needed a Human Rights Commission in Westchester County was amplified by the black press, by the county press. And ultimately, before we passed it, it was a full-page ad with thousands of electronic signatures in the New York Times that had us pass the Human Rights Commission in Westchester County after 2 years of fighting for something that should have been easy, should have been smart. And I thank you, Tejas and Mayo, and all of you who continue to support it. So this is an amazing day of recognition. It's a day that Senator Sally Mayer and I, along with so many of my other colleagues, have a presentation and a proclamation for, because on the state level, in the state Senate, and I know Assemblyman Otis on the Assembly level will be, presenting the proclamation just to acknowledge this day. But the reality is that this is a reminder that each and every one of us, especially in a time like this, has a responsibility to have the courage, have the tenacity, and create the allies that will push back the ignorance of a moment that wishes to pretend that none of these things happened. They happened, and they will happen again if we don't have the tenacity and the ability to come together to stop the erasure of history. Congratulations to Rye for putting a monument to courage in this very, very mobile place to remind us all that, as the Negro National Anthem says, let us march on till victory is won. Thank you so very, very much.